Okay, so I have this today to pull apart and try and repair. It is the world's crappiest, least worthy of being repaired air compressor. One of my friends bought it in Japan like 2 years ago for a grand total of about 10 bucks, and it's made what looks like pretty much completely out of plastic. Even the like heatsink and everything on it's made out of plastic. It's got something very loose inside it, and it stopped working. I noticed when I was looking through inside here, the conrod's turning really slowly when we were running it, and so I decided to take it all the way back from Japan to Australia to pull it apart and figure out what's wrong with it and see if I can fix it. So the first thing we'll do is give it a test. So this is going to be our quick test setup. We've got it connected to, or we'll connect it to 12 volt power supply, have a go at pumping this tyre up. So we'll get rid of that and hook it up. So this tyre, although it's slightly drifted on, it does hold air. It's currently reading off the end of the gauge. It's front wheel drive drift life. So I think I'll let some air out of that before I test anything with it, seeing as we've got no room to move. Okay, so we've let our tyre down. Set this to like 13 or 14 volts, which is closer to what your car actually puts out, because even though it's a 12 volt system, you end up with like 13 or 14 volts. And we'll hook this up. Now, I'm not an electronics expert, but I'm pretty sure that is not how you're supposed to wire a fuse. But who am I to say anything? So, okay, we're connected up. I'm just going to set it so it can pull as many amps as it wants. And power. So it's really loud and rattly. It's only pulling 1.2 amps, so it doesn't pull much power. But we'll see if it actually does any pumping. So I don't know how well you can see in there, but the crankshaft and the conrod are moving really slowly. I highly doubt that's correct, because this would take hours to pump anything up if it was. This has been going for 5 minutes now. It hasn't exploded, but it also hasn't pumped any air, so I think we'll pull it off and see what's happening. Straight away when I take the thing off, there's no air coming out of it. Peace and quiet. So from what I can see with this like moves. So this, I'm pretty sure, is just a plastic case, and then inside it's going to be a smaller air compressor that's like the same as this one but smaller. Okay, so there's the air compressor. They put it inside this air compressor shaped piece of plastic, but this is the actual air compressor. So you can see the piston's tiny. The plastic heatsink on this, being plastic, would have done nothing and doesn't actually touch anything, so it would have done nothing anyway. Well, for a start, I can turn the motor and the conrod doesn't move. And the conrod turns and the motor doesn't move. So, something is amiss here, but what is it? Looking at it closer, the shaft, the crankshaft, like the crankshaft shaft, doesn't turn, and the hole that's in is all flogged out. So I'll have to work out how to reattach the crank to the conrod. So this was just like turning over slowly because there was enough friction there to turn it over slowly, but not actually enough friction to drive the piston up and down and actually create any pressure. So there's our head. You can see there's a little flap one-way valve in there, and that's pretty much all there is to it. All the only moving parts in these little air compressors is the piston, whatever drives the piston, a little valve, and then that's all that's to them. So looking at our piston, this is actually kind of impressive. The texture on the inside of it, if I can get the camera to focus on it, it's not like a crappy machine finish, it's like almost like it's actually been ground. Anyway, it's a nice smooth finish, so that would make a good seal, and it means the piston would have a nice long life if the drivetrain didn't give up. As far as the piston goes, it's a piece of, looks like die-cast zinc probably, or cast aluminium, can't tell if it's, yeah, it's like zinc, same stuff like Hot Wheels cars and that are made out of. And it's got a weird, like, proprietary rubber thing on top of it that they've made. It's not like a standard seal, but impressively the piston has a gudgeon pin in it and it's separate to the conrod. Most of these cheap compressors, the piston's just like a disc and the conrod and piston are one part, so the piston has to like change angles as it goes up and down the cylinder. This one's actually two-piece conrod and piston, which is nice. and the piston's got a good like thickness to it, so it's nice and stable in the cylinder. So far the design of this all seems like it's pretty nice. Now, the cotton rod straight away just fell off the thing. There's nothing actually holding it on there, and this hole is pretty flogged out. So these, once again, look like either cheap die cast or sintered. It looks probably die cast, again, the same way as you make Hot Wheels cars, made out of probably the same stuff as Hot Wheels cars, but we'll forgive them for that because it's nothing, this is broken, it's just the plastic gear that's broken. Just quickly looking at removing the conrod, you can see the gudgeon pin is put into a blind hole, and then the edge of the piston is just like hammered and peened over so the pin can't come out, so it's not really worth the time pulling this apart. I'll remove the gear train from the front of the motor. It's probably a good start. This is the same thing. This part's all die-cast zinc again. As far as the motor goes, there's no brand on it, 12 volt. These are like, I don't know, you get them off eBay for like $5, just brushed hobby motors. You find them in literally everything. Anything that has a motor in it and is cheap, like toys and even more expensive stuff, always has these cheapo brushed motors. Now, as far as getting this apart, you can see the hole where the crank goes in is just like mega flogged out. So that's where our failure was. This being a piston, as it's compressing it's under load, and then it's taken off load as it's pulled out, and it's compressing, so the load on this is constantly like on off, on off, on off, on off, and it'll always sort of rattle things apart a lot more effectively than it would if it was just a constant load turning over. Now looking at this a bit more carefully, if I remove all the old burnt up pieces of nylon, I think the gear, feels like the gear is nylon, it doesn't have any like, sometimes with nylon they put fiberglass like fibers in it to make it stronger. It feels like nylon, but it doesn't have any like anything to reinforce it, it's just cheapo nylon. Hey, here we go. So, lose that. Go away. Now this should come out. So, looking at the casting that the thing runs in, this is made out of that zinc, but it looks like there's a like a bronze bush? No, it's like a weird colour. I don't know. Anyway, there's a bush pressed in there for the crank to run on, so it's not just running straight on the casting, it's actually got a bearing of some sort, which is nice to see. There's nothing like that on the inside of the conrod, it's just the casting running straight on the casting, which means it's not going to last very long. As you can see, it's worn the hole out. This one, you would expect it to last a bit longer. So, looking inside the gear, past all the bits of melted plastic and stuff, there's a metal, oh, you see better from this side, there's a metal piece in there, and I'm not sure, yeah, that metal piece is cast into the gear, and that's supposed to fit over this and drive on it. But as you can see, the metal piece just like spins freely inside it. As far as repairing it goes, that metal piece in there that spins around now would have been moulded in the gear originally, so it was like stuck in there, but now that it's gone loose, there's not much you can do. So I think what I'll do is drill a hole through the gear and through the crank and see if I can put a pin through it. The problem I could have with that is, if this was a nice expensive air compressor, this pin, because it's actually like rubbing on the inside of that bush, the pin would be hardened steel so it doesn't wear out. If it's hardened, then I'm not going to have much luck drilling through it. Luckily, it's pretty easy to test for things that are hard, and all you need is a file, and you can hear, when you rub the file on it, it takes a bit of practice, but you can feel and hear that the file is like removing material. If I get something like this drill bit, now this is only a cheap drill bit, but it's still hard, when I run the file on it, you can hear it and feel it. The file's not actually filing back the drill bit, it's just sliding along it, and you can, hopefully you can hear the difference on the camera between the two. Anyway, that tells me that this is a soft material and I should be able to drill through it. So I think what I'll do is, it's already got a nice flat bit on it, I'll center punch it, drill a hole through it, put the gear on, and then drill the hole through the gear to match. Now if I was Heaps Pro, I'd have like a grab kit with roll pins and stuff in it to make a pin, but I'm not Heaps Pro, so I'll probably just like drill the hole to fit a nail or something to act as a pin. If I was heaps pro, probably would have marked the hole in the middle as well. Need the speed. Whee! Drill bit survived. We'll go a bit bigger. So I went one size, so I measured the drill bit's about 2mm. That was a 1.9mm drill bit, so now I should be able to open it up to 2 and the nail will fit through nicely. Oh yes, nice press fit. So this went back in here first, and then this went on the top of it, somehow, like that-ish. Something's not lining up here. I think I put my gear on, the gear's on the wrong way around. Give me back the nail! Okay, I think we're committed to going this way now. The nail can just have to go all the way through. You know, the nail has to come out. Okay, let's try that again. This time, make sure that because I didn't drill the hole perfectly through the middle, the gear has to be the right way round for the holes to match up, which it wasn't a second ago. Perfect! Okay, so our nail's putting up a bit of a fight going anywhere further through, but it has gone all the way through, so that'll do. Well, that's as true as anything. The gear's got a bit of a wobble to it because somebody screwed it up when they were hammering the shit out of it to get the nail through, but it'll be right. While I'm putting it together, I'm going to grease everything with this, which is moly grease. Moly grease is just like short for molybdenum disulfide grease. And you can always tell it's molybdenum disulfide grease because it's like this gnarly grey colour that just like sticks to everything. And if I stick something in it, you can see it's good grease because it's really like stringy. So when you put it on something, it'll stick to whatever you put it on and not just get like flung all over the place. The reason molybdenum disulfide grease is good is molybdenum disulfide, if you look at it under a microscope, it's like lots of little discs. So even when like the grease part of it's pushed out, the molybdenum platelet molecule things that are in there all slide together and rub together really nicely and help stopping things wearing. If I was good, I would have put it on the crank before I put it back in there, but I forgot. I can still put it on the, I'll still put a bit on the gears and everything. I won't put on the gear just yet because I'll get super messy, but I can at least put some on the, I guess this is like a crank journal? I guess this is the crank journal, the crank pin bit. While we're here, we'll jam some in the top of the piston. Not that I think it'll ever actually make it down into the moving part of it, but we'll try. It's the thought that counts. Nice and greasy. Oh yeah. You can never have too much grease until you have to fix it later and deal with all the grease that you stuck in there. Then there's too much grease. So this went back on here. This piece goes back on here. It's better be recording. Oh yeah, it is. Good. I'll tell you a secret. When I drilled the hole through the gear, well, I didn't record it, but I forgot to press record. So the bit that you saw me drilling the hole through the gear was actually me re-drilling the hole through the gear after the hole was already drilled because I forgot to video it. But shh, don't tell anyone. It's a secret. There was probably an O-ring in the top of this, I forgot to actually check. I should have replaced it, but yeah, should be right. Should be right and wait. The crank actually turns now, and you can hear it pumps air. So, we'll add a bit of final grease to the gears, and then we'll put it back in the case, screw it all back together, and see how it works. Oh, these are like rubber isolation-y things that fit on the side there and go in here. That's why it's so silky smooth in its operation, because it's got those vibration dampers. Alright, come on compressor, I believe in you. Well, it sounds like it's pumping now. Wow. Now that it's actually pumping, it's actually pulling some amps, so I'm pretty sure that 5 amps is the limit of this power supply, so I have no idea how many amps it would pull, but hey, it's actually making pressure now. So I guess we can declare that as fixed. You can see if we look inside it, the piston is actually spinning around really fast. It's not just sitting there anemically turning really slowly. It's still pretty loud though. Whatever brand it is, Lelitic F56 air compressor, fixed.